Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, we're going to talk about something from Jurassic Park's past that has to do with John Hammond. After the release of the first 3 movies, this character was originally supposed to undergo a pretty significant shift in his point of view for the 4th film. And that point of view happened to be his serious dedication to wiping out all of the dinosaurs he'd created on Isla Nublar. So if you've never heard of this information before today, you're probably wondering why exactly the filmmakers chose to change John Hammond after Jurassic Park 3. And you'd be pretty right for questioning that, since at the end of The Lost World, we see John trying to work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to protect what's left of Site B's dinosaurs. However, after the events of The Lost World, for some reason, Dr. Hammond was not present in JP3 at all. And we didn't really learn anything new about him, since nothing in that movie was really dedicated to his point of view. Well, that's where the plot of JP4 came into play, in which John Hammond was going to have to deal with the fact that he was the most sued person in the history of planet Earth. It's even in the Guinness Book of World Records in the film. Not the legacy he intended to have, but it was a legacy nonetheless. Now, it's important for me to note at this point in the video that nothing I'm about to go over is official canon. This is all information taken from John Sayles' Jurassic Park 4 script that got leaked online in the early 2000s. None of this really went down in the movie timeline, since this film was never produced. And of course, by the time we get to Jurassic World, we learn that John still wanted to keep his dinosaurs safe even while he was facing death. So the opinions and goals of John in this unmade film do not reflect how the man would have acted later on in the real timeline of the series. With all of that being said, if we dive into that John Sayles script, we can actually see that the world is facing a very real problem after the events of the first 3 movies. At this point in time, dinosaurs are invading the mainland by migrating through various different means. Pteranodons attack baseball games, compies cause people a lot of problems in neighborhoods, and in general, it's just not looking too good at all. That's where John Hammond's new plan comes into effect. At the beginning of this early script, John contracts a former Navy SEAL by the name of Nick Harris to sneak onto Isla Nublar and acquire something for him. His plan is to create new dinosaurs that he will then unleash upon the old dinosaurs in order to wipe them all out. These new animals will be bred sterile and be without the ability to reproduce whatsoever. But they'd also be highly aggressive females that would bait males in of the same species. And then they'd kill them. John Hammond calls it a Judas strain that he'd like to introduce to the world. But you see, the United Nations have already laughed at his proposal to create new dinosaurs in order to kill the old ones. And they've outlawed the further cloning of any new species since the fall of Jurassic Park went public. And that's why John Hammond needed Nick Harris. You see, most of Isla Nublar's dinosaurs had been wiped out, but there still remained a good population on the island that had continued to survive on their own ever since 1993. A rival company of InGen's, this time called the Grendel Corporation, had taken over the island and were using it as a sort of messed up base of operations. John Hammond believes these people to be the same guys who contracted Nedry to steal the embryos in the first movie. Speaking of which, Nick Harris's job was to actually make his way onto Isla Nublar, find the Barbasol can that Nedry had left behind, and then make his way back to John so that Hammond could clone new animals with whatever genetic material may be salvageable from the can. The script was described as much more in line with Mission Impossible than Jurassic Park, and at this point in time, the filmmakers were trying to find a way that they could breathe new life into the franchise, since JP3 earned way less money than they wanted it to, and both that film and The Lost World ended up disappointing a lot of fans of the first movie. Now, aspects of this script have been adapted and toned down considerably in the new Jurassic World trilogy, particularly Nick Harris and his slow evolution into the animal behaviorist we know as Owen Grady. However, most of the really crazy stuff from this draft was left behind in 2004, particularly the subject of today's video, John Hammond's insane idea to kill all of his dinosaurs. Now, I don't think I really have to tell you guys that I personally disagree with this goal that they had in store for Hammond. I think I've made that pretty clear already, that I think it's a little too out of character for him to even think about. And when you combine his attempt to wipe out all of his dinosaurs with the insane idea to breed new dinosaurs that will be sterile and fight off the old ones, well, it just seems to be a little over the top for me. Still, This was in fact an idea that they were thinking about going through with in the early 2000s. Everything that we've gone over in this video is indeed 100% real and legitimate. At one point in time, this was going to be Jurassic Park 4, but as fate would have it, things changed. And over 10 years later, Jurassic World would come out instead. Now, I'm curious to hear what all of you guys think about this abandoned plotline for Dr. John Hammond. What do you think the audience reaction would be to JP4 if this had been the plot, and what would you personally have thought about it if it had been released? I've already given my own thoughts, but I'd love to hear all of your own, so whatever they may be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. Guys, it seriously means the world to me that you all continue to support what I do, and I never want you to ever forget that. Now, I'd like to thank you all for watching today's video, and hope that you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.